research method and design. Today we are going to continue the previous lecture. We talked about refining research ideas and beginning to design your study. We started talking about the samples of our research. We start talking about how to select the best tool or the best methods for us, and we stopped at that. Now we are going to talk about a very simple idea. It's a bit complicated, but if you focus with me, you are going to find it very easy, inshallah. We have today elements of research design. The research design is very important because this is going to help you to understand your research more and to help you analyze and interpret your results more efficiently and effectively. So we have comparison and control groups. It's called comparison, sometimes experimental groups. As I said, usually the experimental design, you have two groups. One is called the experiment or the experimental group, and the other one is the control group. In the experiment, you give them the new treatment. It's called treatment. As I said, if you want to apply computers to see the effects of computers on them, this is called treatment. So the new treatment is using computer. The control group has no treatment. They are exposed to the normal teaching methods, for example. Let's say that you want to compare male and females, and with the males you want to, for example, see the effects of face-to-face teaching versus teaching them over camera. Because let's say that so for example, I want to teach males and females. With males, I teach them face-to-face, but with females, I teach them behind the camera. So I want to see the effects of face-to-face teaching. So face-to-face teaching is the treatment, and behind camera sometimes would be considered a treatment, but let's agree that the new treatment is face-to-face teaching, because our objective is to see the effects of face-to-face teaching on students. So back to the research objective. As I said, the research objectives controls the design of our research, and depending on the the research objective, we can decide which is which. In our case, face-to-face teaching is our, for example, is our target or is our objective. Then we can call it the new treatment, and the other group has no treatment. But let's say that the opposite. We want to see the effects of teaching behind the camera to females versus face-to-face teaching. In this case, teaching behind the camera is the new treatment. So selecting a comparison group, we have two types of designs: between groups designs and within group designs. So this is what I talked about, between group designs. So you have two groups and you want to see the difference between the two groups. This is called between group designs. You have two groups, you want to see the differences between the two groups. It is called between group designs. This is versus within the group designs. You only have one group and you want to see the differences within that group. You have one classroom. Back to the example of the acquisition of grammar by children. Let's say that I am teaching children in my classroom, and I want to see the differences between these children. Who can learn the language faster than the other? Who is more excellent than the other? Why the poor children is not learning English? So this is called within the group designs. I have only one group, and repeatedly I have some treatments with them. So let's talk more about these two designs. So between group designs, compare it to another group that is similar to research group except with respect to the treatment construct you are measuring. So this is what I said. You have two groups. They need to be parallel. They are similar to each other. You cannot have, for example, children versus old people. Well, these are not similar. You are going to get some differences. So they need to be similar, and the difference is in the treatment. As I said, they have a new treatment or a different treatment than the other. Within group designs, you can compare one group to itself over time, before treatment and after treatment. Yes, so you have the same group, and over time you give them the same treatment, different treatment, sometimes different tools, just to explore the differences between these two groups. Note, qualitative descriptive studies do not use comparison groups. They just describe really well. So yes, so if you have a research of, you are describing the world, around you, your society, your school, your home, research about the structure of your home. Let's say we have a sociology researcher who wants to explore the life of his own life. Well, these are descriptive research. They don't use comparison groups. So here we have the an example. It's taken from Grafeter and Forzano, 2006, Research Methods for the Behavioral Science, 2nd edition. Here we have between group designs, we have a sample of participants, which is obtained from the population. The participants are assigned to treatment group. After you have your sample, you assign them to groups, and you need to specify the criteria of assignment. I selected these people to group number 1 because they are blah blah blah, unless they are all similar. If they are all similar, well, then you can just divide them evenly into groups. Otherwise, if you have a mix, let's say you have 16 students, 8, then you want to split them into 8 and 8, 2 groups. But these 16, you have 8 good and 8 bad students. In this case, it's very, very simple. You can split them into halves. 4 good and 4 bad in the group 1, 4 good and 4 bad in the second group. This is very easy, but sometimes it gets complicated, and you need to be careful in assigning your sample into groups. So the participants are assigned to treatment conditions using an assignment process. This is what I talked about, assignment process or assignment criteria that creates separate but equivalent groups. And this is the key word. They should be equivalent groups. So we have group 1, group 2, group 3 with 3 treatments. Here, treatment 1, treatment 2, and treatment 3. Separate treatment conditions created by the researcher, the independent variable. I mentioned the word independent variable and dependent in the live session, but we are going to talk about it in the next lecture. So this is just a picture or a chart showing between group designs. Within group designs, you see in this circle, we have one sample of participants, one sample, and then we have different treatments. We are going to have the same sample, taking the first treatment, and then taking the second treatment, and then taking the third treatment, and then we get some kind of result. But they are all the same. All the same groups. We don't have more than one group. The structure of within subject design. The same sample of individuals, participants in all of the treatment conditions, because each participant is measured in each treatment. This design is sometimes called a repeated measures design. Yes, this is called a repeated measure design, we have them all taking all the 3 treatments. Let's have an example that we want to test this group vocabulary size. We want to know each individual in the group, each student, how many words he knows in English. So the first treatment, we give them a vocabulary test. And then we want, after we conduct the vocabulary test, we want to know, for example, how they are using their vocabulary in writing. We give them a second treatment, for example, a writing test, and then we compare the results. Are the good students whose vocabulary size is high getting higher marks in writing? Do they use this vocabulary that they have in their writing or not? And etc. This is just only an example, and we have different examples of repeated measures. Note, all participants go through the entire series of treatments, but not necessarily in the same order. Yes, sometimes we have something called the order effect. Some researchers believe that if you have all the students take the same treatments in the same order, you might get something called the order effect. And to avoid the order effect, you change the order of treatments for different people to avoid the order effect. The order effect is like if you give them a vocabulary test and then a writing test, just like the previous examples. Well, some researchers would say that, well, the vocabulary test might affect the writing, so better you mix the order for the students, just to say, well, I did not follow the same order for all students, so this is not true. We cannot say, well, the vocabulary test affected writing. Why? Because not all students took the same order. Half of them, 25% of them, took this order, but the others took a reverse order. So this is, in simple, the within and between group designs. We have here one-time versus over-time research, cross-sectional method. Cross-sectional method, let's say that, again, to the example of acquisition of grammar by children. And you want to know, now they are, let's say, 6 years old. And you want to know, after 10 years, are they going to keep the same grammar that they learned while they were 6 years old, from 6 until they reach 16. There is a 10-year gap. I want to predict. I want to know whether the teaching that I spent with them, with all the effort that I did with them while they were 6, are they going to keep the same English language with the same correct grammar after 10 years? You have two ways to do this. Either that you go with them year after year until they reach 16. Maybe you get the same students, maybe you don't get the same students. Waiting 10 years is called longitudinal method. You go with them year by year until they reach the age that you want to reach. Maybe year 8, maybe year 16, or age 16, or age 8, or age 7. It depends on your, again, your research objective. The other way to do it is you don't wait for these students to become 16. You go to students who are already 16 and you conduct your study, and then you would say, well, I predict that these students would be similar to these students. Why? Because they have been through the same education process, they have been through the same teaching materials, the same teachers. So I would expect that these 6-year-old students would be similar to these students. So you conduct your research in the same time, but with different people that are thought to be similar. So cross-sectional method, this is called cross-sectional method. Same group of people are observed at one point in time. So you have the same group here and another group, and then you want to see the difference between the two groups. Longitudinal method, same group of people are observed at different points in time as they grow older. And the risk with the longitudinal method is the attrition of sample. You may not get the same samples. Now you have let's say 100 children. Maybe after 2-3 years you don't have 100 children. Maybe they die, maybe they don't want to participate, maybe they travel to another city, maybe you don't find them, you lose track of their addresses, and etc. This is the risk with the longitudinal method. The risk with the cross-sectional method, you don't get the reality, you don't get the real findings, because the two groups are different, and we need to accept the fact that there are individual differences. So this is was about research design and method. I hope it was very clear, not complicated. And one last slide about the longitudinal method. As I said here, you have a group of 40-year-old participant measures today. After 20 years, they become 60, and then after 20 years, they become 80. So this is a diagram of, or a figure showing the structure of a longitudinal research design. I hope it wasn't complicated and it was fun. Wish you all the best, and see you next lecture, inshallah. Thank you very much.